Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of Black Vault. I am Darth Sebius, and as with me always is Brett Lowski. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing very well. It's very hot, but I imagine it's nowhere near as hot as where you are.
It is pretty fucking hot today.
And today we're going to be talking the Night Lords Saga by Aaron Dembski-Bowden. So I'll talk a little bit about Mr. Bowden himself, and we will get on with the with the books themselves. So here he is, and his lovely little beanie there, and next to him is a picture I edited, which is Aaron Dembski-Bowden, because he just writes about dreadnoughts so well. So Aaron Dembski-Bowden lives and works in Northern Ireland. Prior to writing for Black Library, he had worked as a writer for various RPGs and video games. Since sort of his joining of the Black Library stable, he's done quite a number of Black Library books, including The First Heretic, Aurelian, Prince of Crows, Butcher's Nails, Betrayer, and The Underworld War from the Horus Heresy. That's a mix of novels, short stories, and audio dramas there. Hell's Reach and The New Blood and Fire, Space Marine Battles. Cadian Blood for Imperial Guard, and as well as the Night Lords we're going to discuss, and a number of short stories. In his own words, from his WordPress, his name is Aaron W. Dembski-Bowden. Don't ask him about the W, just forget it exists. He clearly has an interesting middle name. He used to tell people it was Wolfgang. My actual middle name is Amadeus. So if that makes you feel any better, if you see this, Mr. Dembski-Bowden, I'm Sebastian Amadeus Wake, so Aaron Wolfgang Dembski-Bowden doesn't sound quite so bad now. But yeah, so he writes a lot, people pay him to do it, he enjoys it, and he has cats, but he prefers dogs. He mostly wears black. His favourite colour is orange. He was born in a really dark, grim patch of London, which sounds somewhat like Nostromo, and then moved to the greenest parts of Northern Ireland. So yeah, that's the man we're going to be talking about, and we shall get started with the thing that kicks off the series, which is Shadow Knight, which is a short story from 2009, which was published in Hammer and Bolter 11, and then republished in the Best of Volume 1. So Shadow Knight is a short story about Talos, the Soul Hunter, prophet of the 8th Legion, defending his stolen Blood Angel's blade against some unwitting Blood Angel scouts, who really should have thought better about what they're doing. He also reflects upon his life on Nostromo, his first kills, becoming a legionary, and the monumental daddy and philosophical issues that all Space Marines have, but the Night Lords have their own epic philosophical pattern to it. It's a wonderful first flavour of Talos and the First Claw, and their particular reflectiveness and starts of characters, as well as them being renegades, and ends directly with the prophetic vision that leads us straight into Soul Hunter. So I shall hand over to Brett Lowski to bring us into the first actual novel of the series.
Alright, so Soul Hunter was the first of the Night Lords novels. We are introduced to First Claw and the crew of the Covenant of Blood. The first character we meet is Septimus, who is Talos's, I guess you could say, his primary slave. He's waiting outside his master's chambers, counting away the seconds, or the minutes, as Talos lays, all gucked out and screaming in one of his crazy, ridiculous visions. And from there, it's a strange ride to the end of the book. Talos' vision leads the Covenant of Blood to an adamantium shard of their old homeworld Nostromo, and they find upon it a mining group that that's trying to gather chunks of adamantium to sell, and the mining ship is destroyed. Everyone is killed with the exception of the navigator. The navigator is a real firecracker of a woman by the name of Eurydice, who ends up basically being taken on board as the backup navigator, very much against her will. We see Septimus trying to integrate her into the life she kind of got kidnapped into, as she just is a angry, pissed off female who seems to not quite be as afraid of the Space Marines as everyone else is. And from there, what ends up happening is we immediately see the conflict between First Claw and the commander of the Covenant of Blood, his real name is Vandred, but he is referred to as the Exalted because he is indeed possessed, and the demon doesn't like being called anything but Vandred. I mean, the Exalted. Shit. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. And the first book really is, we really get to know. It's more about First Claw itself and the Covenant of Blood and all the characters on it, and less about a particular like storyline, because mostly what happens is just a lot of, you know, raiding. There's the Exalted tries to pawn Talos off to Abaddon the Despoiler in an effort to get Talos out of his hair. Talos refuses, resists temptations from all four Chaos Gods, and by the end of the book, First Claw and the Covenant of Blood are hauling ass away from the Despoiler's attack on the planet Krythe, which was kinda successful, kinda not successful. We don't really know how it turned out, because First Claw got the hell out of Dodge before things really were resolved. But yeah, the first Soul Hunter is a lot more about, in effect, Talos himself, who is referred to as a Soul Hunter, because with the assassination of Conrad Kurz, he commanded his sons to let his assassin flee, but Talos broke that order, went after her, hunted her down, and killed her. And previous to this, Kurz saw that happening and bestowed upon him the name Soul Hunter. And we see through some of his prophetic visions, we see that we see future events that he doesn't know if they'll happen. He thinks they might, but he's not sure because his visions aren't always right. He'll see something and it'll just never come to pass. In particular, he sees Usus coming after Syrian in an effort to kill him and just, take his armor and shit for loot. But it never comes to pass.
I think at this point, we probably said it at the beginning. There are going to be spoilers. Here be spoilers, just before we get any further. From
here on, be spoilers. We're going to be spoiling the living shit out of these books.
But there's a lot not to be spoiled, because at the end of the day, it's about the characters and the journey far more than the story themselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's more about the characters, the journey, how they interact, and then an actual story itself.
Definitely. So, were there any particular bits about Soul Hunter you wanted to pull out and have a particular look at, or because I'll go like because you mentioned the temptations of the four gods. That was a wonderful moment. Just the avatar of himself.
That scene in particular was very interesting. It was also very well written because it really showed each of the four gods, and it gave a very accurate showing of how Talos how Talos responded to each is exactly how you'd feel he would respond.
Definitely, and even how they responded to him. I think it was. I think is it Nurgle was just like, I've got no interest in you. You've got no interest in me. Why has ABD set this up? I'm gonna get out.
Pretty much. She's like, I've got nothing to offer you. You've got nothing to offer me. I don't know why I was summoned here. Bye.
Yeah. because we're touching it like essentially the plot is it's the War Master Abaddon's attack on the Astartes errant the forces of the Astartes errant who are protecting the Forge Realm of Krythe. But yeah, it's just not that. It's the enigmatic and very different. All the members of First Claw and Talos' penchant for the philosophical ramblings and kind of harking back to a golden era that no one can really seem to remember or doesn't seem to really have actually existed at any point. So yeah, and in classic Chaos Space Marine Black Legion form, they're fought infighting in the end and run away. So in Night Lords terms, that's a win.
Yeah, yep. I forget which. I think it's actually in Blood Reaver that this quote comes up, but when it comes, the Night Lords don't usually win fair fights. When it's a not fair fight, they generally tend to win those, and hence they usually try to get themselves into a fight that heavily favors them.
Definitely, because they're such an honourable bunch of renegades. They might not necessarily be worshipping the Chaos Gods like the rest of the traitors, although we do see that Syrian does seem to be tainted in some way, picking up on people's fears, and Uzaz in many ways seems to be well on his way to becoming a berserker. Might as well kind of naff off and join the World Eaters. But they both staunchly claim they don't worship, they just use, in the way we mentioned in the last fluff talk about the Night Lords, with that kind of the Night Lords use chaos but don't really worship it, although some of them do, as clearly the Exalted is a demon, essentially.
Yeah, the Exalted is possessed, yep.
Awesome scene. So should I move on to Throne of Lies?
By all means.
Awesome
take us in.
So Throne of Lies is the audio drama that kind of follows directly from Soul Hunter, but is mostly comprised of Talos' memories / dreams of setting a trap for a Calatus assassin, who we see a wonderful description of her sneaking through, taking the mantle and the actual personality and form of many different people as she sneaks through, getting to see the governor of this world ready to address the crowd and talk about succeeding from the Imperium. The moment he speaks traitorous words, she shoots him and shows that the Imperium is not something to be messed with. But then, the Night Lords pop up and show that they're not something to be messed with either, and they capture her and take her back to their ship and spend the next 6 days taking her to pieces for information. This information is on the temple where Mishen, the assassin that killed Kaz, as we mentioned earlier, who is the one that Talos was the first and only to chase and to kill, to find out where their temple was, so the Night Lords can finally have some kind of vengeance and closure for the death of their father. This leads to a very odd but epically wonderful and the biggest conglomeration and meeting of the 8th Legion's warships and troops that's ever happened since the Horus Heresy. Now, I find it a little bit difficult how this kind of all came to be, but if everyone was told that they had information on the Calatus temple that killed Kurz, that is going to bring everyone together, so that's kind of fine. But
yeah, in particular, they were looking for the video capture of Mishen, like speaking to Night Haunter before, or really Night Haunter speaking to her before she kills him.
Yeah, they're looking for closure and looking to see the final moments of their father and the moment he shared with the assassin before she died, before she killed him. So yeah, so essentially, yeah, so they turn to the temple and they absolutely devastate it completely. But when they eventually ransacked it and they find it's actually an empty temple with nothing in it except for where he was told it would be, the Hollow Pict is, and there's one of the most amazing, most moving and emotive moments I think in any of 40k in many ways, even including the Horus Heresy. when you've got First Claw and the Exalted, who actually has a very oddly human moment in waiting for Talos and letting everyone unsee together, and they all watch the final moments of the Comrade Kerr's their father's life as he laughs and the assassin Mitchel leaps in to decapitate him, and they spread that out throughout the fleet, and they feel some closure and a little bit better for it, which is nice. That's kind of what they wanted, and it ends with a very very nice twang with Talos watching it 8 times over, 8 times for the 8th Legion. I like the little detail there. But then finds that there's an extra track on the helipict, and it's actually Mitchel herself reporting in that she has killed him, and reporting that the deed is done, but she probably won't make it herself. And just in a wonderful, wonderful way, this echoes out, and that's how the audio drama fades and comes to a close. And I don't know about you, mate, but it's just geek bumps and feels, as I am so fond of saying these days. But it's just so emotive and just wonderful. Like these are proper bastards, but you love them and you want to be with them and you feel their emotion. So yeah, so I just wondered if you wanted to come in on Throne of Lies at all.
Nope, that pretty much covers it.
Okay, then just before we move on, I'll say John Banks does the narration, and he is very good, adding some appropriate Insidious tone as well as the Nostraman, which is great. Also, the broken and warped vox and the thick whispered accents of the Night Lords is another thing that's amazing, and the production's really very good. It's something with the Black Lotus audio dramas, like so many of them are so wonderful and so well wrought, and the music works and the voice acting works, and it's just beautiful. And normally, if it's not Toby Longworth or Gareth Armstrong, I get a bit angry, but John Banks does an incredible job, and Beth Chambers as the Callous Assassin. Beth Chambers is a one-woman Imperium, and true to form. Like, Beth Chambers can do anything. Like, she can do no wrong. And just as a whole, yeah, Throne of Lies is just incredible. So yeah, maybe if you've read the books and not heard that one, you need to get your hands on that. So I shall hand over to Brett. Would believe you we take us further with Blood Reaver.
Yeah, Blood Reaver. Alright, so Blood Reaver is book 2 of the Night Lords trilogy, and probably my favorite so far because, well, I'll just jump right into it. In the beginning, you're on the Imperial space station Ganges, and it's a Mechanicum station. You have basically a bunch of, just a royal shit ton of laborers working under a bunch of tech priests in the Manufactorum. It's effectively a resource waypoint. It's a refuel, rearm port for the Marines errant, and everything's kicking along. Whatever. We have the character. What's his name? Meruk, I think his name is. He's just come off of a shift. He's all tired and exhausted and has a splitting headache, and next thing you know, out of nowhere, every Vox speaker in the whole goddamn station is alive with this horrible, keening scream.
This is worse than my laugh.
Oh, come on, Seb. Your laugh's not bad at all. But, I digress. And from there, we hop into, like, the control center of the station, and everyone's trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, how to do it, and they somehow detect a ship drifting in close to the station. And before any of the command people can do anything about it, they're shot by the new Auspex guy, who also happens to be Septimus, infiltrated into the station.
Dun dun dun.
And from there, the Night Lords board. They run through. They kidnap a bunch of people. They murder a bunch more people. They they limber up to the station, and they're, you know, sucking in all the resources they can, and blah blah blah. Amongst those captured is Maruk, and he, you know, comes onto the sorry. He you know, is one of the people that gets popped onto the Covenant of Blood, and at the most inopportune, inconvenient moment, the Marines errant. The
irritant
Marines
Marines.
errant, yeah. The Marines irritant show up, and the Covenant of Blood, which the Covenant of Blood took quite a beating during the space battle at Kryth. I almost said Calf. Wow. During the space battle at Kryth, and in the process of running like bloody hell from the Marines errant, takes a little bit more of a beating. And so they basically have they basically have, you know, they have to repair, they have to resupply, they have no place to go but they have no place to go but Hell's Iris in the Maelstrom. Now, Hell's Iris is run by the piratical Red Corsairs. The leader of the Red Corsairs is, of course, the boss himself, Huron. And when we first meet Huron, we also meet the Red Corsair Apothecary Varial and Master Apothecary Lord Garion, as they are literally knuckles deep in his skull, clipping out the pain nerves in his head, because previous to this, you know, back in the good old days when Huron wasn't a bad guy, when he did go bad guy, half his body was vaporized by a melta weapon. So the only thing keeping him alive is extensive bionic augmentation and pure undying hate. So his continued existence is horribly painful, and Varial and Garion are deadening his pain nerves so that he can, you know, continue to function for another few months. So that's our first meeting with Huron, and then you know, the Covenant of Blood docks and says, okay, I know we kind of like killed a bunch of you guys and were total dickheads last time, but we really need repair and resupply, and hey, here's some gene seed. Have some. Don't kill us. Thanks. And so Huron says, okay, Huron proposes to them, so alright, you need this, you need that. I'll give you this, I'll give you that, in exchange for a little bit of gene seed, but I'll also, you will help me in crippling the Marines errant. And that's, you know, your end of the bargain, and that's what happens. The Red Corsairs lay siege to the fortress monastery of the Marines errant, and you know, Talos and company, they, you know, they sneak in, they just wreak havoc on the inside, they just, you know, draw everyone out, scatter everyone, make everything a big, you know, chaotic mess before the Red Corsairs themselves come down and just, you know, fuck shit up. And it's, you know, just a whole big long orgy of butchery and blowing shit up, and, you know, Chaos Space Marines doing what Chaos Space Marines do best. But afterwards, once their part of the deal is done, First Claw runs back to the Covenant of Blood as quickly as their, you know, enhanced physiological legs can bring them to, back to the Covenant of Blood, and they go after a Corsair ship known as the Venomous Birthright, which is actually a Night Lords vessel known as the Echo of Damnation.
Dun, dun, dun.
And you know, earlier in the book, Talos sets eyes upon the ship, The Exalted sets eyes upon the ship at the same time, and they're both just like, "Hey man, that's our ship. That's a Legion ship. We're not leaving without it." And then, you know, they take it back. Varial pretty much defects to First Claw. I'm trying to figure out how he was convinced to do so. Probably because he hated the Red Corsairs, but
he hated the Corsairs.
Yeah.
He owed Talos. I think Talos had like saved his life. They had some brotherly bond, which made him, yeah. Also, being an 8th Legion Chaos Space Marines, like the Astro Claws might be the second biggest power, but they're still second.
They're not an original. They're not an original Traitor Legion.
They are not OG.
And so yeah, you know, the Echo of Damnation is taken back, and First Claw sets up shop on there. Vandred, the actual Vandred, the soul of Vandred, still locked up inside the possessed form of the Exalted, ends up finally getting back at the Exalted by hiding himself deep within the recesses of his own mind. The Exalted ends up unable to tap into Vandred's experience in Void Warfare, so as he's getting the shit kicked out of him. So as the Covenant of Blood is getting the shit kicked out of it by the
Red Corsairs.
No, the Red Corsairs. At the last possible moment, Vandred comes back, takes control, gets everyone off the ship, and just takes care of business, gets everyone onto the Echo of Damnation, and at the very last moment, right before the ship's about to go kaboom, he says, "I hope this hurts." And then he just lets go of his own body. His soul drifts off in the warp. The demon comes back like, "Oh, that fucking Vandred. Oh, shit." Boom.
Good 5 to 10,000 years work to get back into another body. God damn it.
Exactly. And that's pretty much Blood Reaver right there.
Indeed, like it's an epic one. It's definitely a lot of fun. There's a few bits I just kind of wanted going because they're just so awesome. Let's just talk about what they're doing to the Blood Reaver hero himself. Again, just cutting the neural pathways in his brain just so he's not in epic, like just to keep his pain within like livable parameters is just something wonderful. There's something delicious about that.
Mm-hmm.
And also we talked a little bit about Reuven, the sorcerer. He does show up in Soul Hunter. He was a Night Lord sorcerer who defected to the Black Legion, who winds himself up in the Red Corsairs jail, being tortured by epic amounts of light, which is not nice for the old Nostraman born. And then they use him to help fly the other ship by get him to fly the Covenant of Blood, while they can use Octavia to fly the Echo of Damnation. And then for all his hard work and troubles, and the fact that he is just such an incredible dick, he does get crucified and slaughtered and hung above the CDC, the bridge, which is quite nice. So yeah, I just thought that was a lovely moment. Just one of those.
A nice touch.
It is a nice touch because Reuven's a dick. You don't we're both Chaos Space Marine players, and I've got a lot love for Black Legion and what they do, but you don't leave your Legion for Black Legion. Like, if you've still got enough of a warband going, it's just not. Yeah,
no, you don't defect, and you sure as shit don't defect to the Black Legion.
Unless you're Varial, and that's fine. You can defect to a Legion from a second founding traitor Legion, but traitor chapter. But yeah. Okay, so yeah, that was Blood Reaver, another epic one. And here is we have the core. Now, you will notice there is a picture of a Space Orc on the front, which confused me for a while, but that is because the core is published in the Fear the Alien anthology. So the core is a short that follows Blood Reaver, pretty much the time shortly after the end of Blood Reaver, where First Claw, along with Septimus and Deltrian, the Tech Priest, who is an incredible character throughout this series. We're going to talk about a bit of the characters a little bit more detail after we've gone through the books themselves and some more of the themes and the things that go on with the books. So yeah, so Septimus, Deltrion and First Claw, as well as the Raptors, who are the new Ninth Claw, board a Space Hulk to gain some Mechanicum data and some fun stuff from the Mechanicum, but end up stumbling upon the starved nest of a bunch of Gene Sealers and some sealed up salamanders for their troubles. Essentially, yeah, nine Raptors take the biscuit, but the Raptors do get to take out some Terminators, and essentially you get Deltrion being deadpan and just wonderful as he is. He's just trying to. Can you? Oh, there appears to be a Broodlord coming. Could someone deal with that while I'm just hacking into this? Oh, and then the Broodlord turns up, and they're just. The First Claw are kind of fighting like tooth and nail, almost dead, trying to fight this Broodlord, and he's just like, oh, yeah, just getting my information, which is just wonderful. Deltrion is just a wonderful, wonderful chap. And so essentially, yeah, they lose a bunch, but they also find what is very important for the next book, Voidstalker. They find themselves a full six set of Terminators, including an autocannon, which is always good times, because it's not the kind of thing that Chaos Space Marines or the Night Lords get to scavenge very often. There's a few things from Aaron Dembski-Bowden himself on the book. He said the story was sort of a part experiment, part risk, part gimmick. It was gimmick in the sense that it links to another story in the anthology, and it was gimmick in the sense that it's set after Blood Reaver. So I believe it does link to another book within the Fear the Alien anthology, and it also has spoilers for things for what happens in the next Night Lords novel. He said he wanted to write a short story tied into another story's plot, which was a struggle actually, but I wanted to do it, and for once one that for once wasn't clever or twisty, and just a solid A to B situation, showing familiar characters, basically helping people get to know them a little bit better, and what matters here are the spoilers, so let's deal with those. Incidentally, the core will not be in any future Night Lords anthology, which is not strictly true, because it is in the e-bundle on Black Library, which gives you everything. So, yeah. But yeah, essentially it is it's Space Hulk with Night Lords and Raptors, but without Terminators. And there is a wonderful in-joke. At one point, one of the First Claw does turn around and say, I see why I normally send Terminators into these, because obviously the games Space Hulk in the past and all those videos and good stuff there. So yeah, that was the core. And I'm moving us on to Voidstalker, which is the final book in this series. So yeah, so essentially, the hunters become the hunted. This is from the cover. The hunters become the hunted. The Night Lords flee the dark fringes of the Imperium, escape from their relentless pursuers, the Eldar of Craftworld Elthway. The fight takes to the carrying world of Sulgaza, where the Primarch died and the Legion was born. There, the history repeats itself, and a deadly assassin stalks the shadows. The Night Lords are drawn to the battle where they're destined to lose. So, basically, at the end of the core, I think pretty sure it's the end of the core, or Talos falls into another epic vision, one that affects him really badly, and he's out for 55 nights, and he's been chained to his throne. He's been killing the crew and all sorts of stuff, and just screaming, ordering them to take them to Sulgaza, he's been dreaming of the Eldar a lot, so he's either running, keeping himself well away from the Eye of Terror, where he could face retribution from the Astral Claws and other renegades, as well as Elthway, and yeah, find himself at Sulgaza, which was the fortress monastery of the Night Lords, up until the moment that Kurz was murdered, and then the Primogenators in the form of the Ultramarines, and that is not just the Ultramarines, the Legion come chapter, that's the Ultramarines Legion, so Genesis chapter and everyone else came and rooted them out of their homes. So we begin with Talos having his vision, seeing everyone dead and things going wrong, and sending Septimus and Octavia off, and Eldar having to go off and fight the Eldar on his own, and all things being rather sad times. And that's when he wakes up and finds out that things have been going kind of crazy, and they find themselves above Sulgaza. But on Sulgaza, which is now called Darkana, an ecclesiarchy population colony vessel has crash landed, and unfortunately been living on Sulgaza, trying to call the Imperium to come and save them, but the Imperium doesn't want to go anywhere near Sulgaza, because that's where the Night Lords used to live, and that is something we don't remember anymore, because yeah, knowledge is power, guard it well, and all that sort of stuff. Talos very early finds out that Octavia is actually now pregnant by Septimus, which is a big no-no, and proceeds to beat the living daylights out of his poor 7th slave for touching it, and saying that if he ever does touch her again, he will kill her. Before gathering the 81 remaining Night Lords that are part of the warband together, and say that they are going to do what they do, and destroy and reave the people on the planet, and try and bring the Imperium back to them. So yeah, they go down and start to butcher the populace, as they do during the Night Lords thing, and they've been very kind of debonair and philosophical and just kind of anti-hero renegadely cool in the previous books, and then they start being utter dicks. Like murdering, leaving 1 in 1,000 in the population alive. But before they get into being full-on dicks, they're just being slight dicks, skinning a few people. There's a wonderful moment of Varial, who's properly joined First Claw now, is just walking along killing people with 3 flayed bodies being dragged behind him. I don't know why I look behind me. There aren't any flayed bodies behind me. Just in case anyone was wondering, I did just have to check. And then so Talos falls into another massive vision about the Ultramarines coming. But then these are Red Ultramarines, which is the Genesis chapter. So basically, they show up and board, and he wakes up in a hangar bay and promptly gets ready to join the fray. Wakes up a bit like Mal, I heard Bolt of Fire, Carrion, the Dreadnought. He hears Bolt of Fire, wakes up, launches to join into the fray, and takes a Thunderhammer to the head. So basically watches as Zal and the rest of First Claw have an epic battle with Terminators, and it's just madness, epic madness, which ends with Zal helmetless, repeatedly headbutting a Terminator in the face, winning, and then cutting his head off. Now, I may have kind of fallen out of love with the Night Lords and the things they do after this point, but promptly after that, Zal is given the hammer and then dies. So it's alright, I can like Zal, because he doesn't do too much bad stuff later, because he is just so unbelievably epic. So then they decide that they want to bring the Imperium back. So they go and do all the skinning and horrific stuff and very, very nasty things. And the leader is just going, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "Oh, we're renegades, and we're going to scare you into doing what you want to do," because that kind of makes sense in some way. Not because the best day for Night Lords would be killing 1, leaving 1 in 1,000 in the population of every Imperial world alive, and saying, "We're all in charge now, be scared." That doesn't sound like a good idea. So they build this scream by murdering everyone and doing it in front of the Psychers. So essentially they use the Psychers as pain-filled tea bags. The Psychers just suck in all of the pain and the suffering and all that stuff, and then they take them onto the ships and they spend their time excruciating them, which basically ends up with these poor pain and anger filled Psychers being nothing more than kind of central nervous systems hooked up to tubes for pain, just to keep them alive for as long as possible. And then like what so we've got pain, got a nice bit of pain, and we've stewed that into a pain-filled tea bag. Now we need to boil that now, bring that to a boil with the boiling water of a navigator's eye. That'd be a good way to kill them. So yeah, Talos uses Octavia to slaughter all of these Psychers using her navigator's eye, and she does about 9 or 19, I believe it is, and then passes out, and he promptly is just holding her up like Medusa's head, killing one by one, which is just horrifically disgusting, which causes a huge scream which spreads far and wide and takes over systems and causes demons to erupt, because it's right next to a conduit, and it will essentially bring the Imperium back one day. Good times. But not so good times, because someone else seems to have heard it, but they haven't actually heard it. The Eldar show up, and they have epic amounts of prophecies, and they have been looking at the skein of fate and seen that a prophet will rise from the 8th Legion and bring about the Rada Dundra, the end of the world itself. So, in a kind of cat and mouse chase, very reminiscent of the first episode of Battlestar Galactica 33, they jump and run and jump and run and hide, and the Eldar are there, and they hide in a nebula and try and, oh dear, but the Eldar still find them. So like, well, let's go back to where we were, because Sargazo is a good place for a last stand. And they get themselves down to the catacombs. They just about fight themselves off, send off Varial with Deltrian, Septimus and the pregnant Octavia to preserve the relics in the gene seed and hopefully rebuild the Legion up, because they're all probably going to be slaughtered by the epic amounts of Eldar. And First Claw and everyone take down to the surface of Sargazo, where First Claw don the Salamander's armour, which they stole from the core. As mentioned before, I read the core after Voidstalker, so I got really confused. So they're like, so yeah, remember that time we fought the Salamanders? That was fun.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I had when I was reading Voidstalker, I was like, wait, what? What? Salamanders, Terminator, and Space Hulk? What the hell's going on?
So yeah, we recommend you do it in the order that we've done them today, because that is the right order, essentially. So yeah, they get down to the catacombs of Sargazo, and they're having a massive epic fight out in their new spangly Terminator armor, killing just waves upon waves upon waves of what appears to be Guardians, and then Banshees come and they fighting off. Now there is an interesting point about what happens with the Banshees later on. The Banshees don't seem to really have much of an effect, a bit of an effect, but not much effect on the Space Marines, which is kind of, I accept that, that's fine. But Brett, like, the Night Lords shout back and outshout and kind of blow up the Banshees, which I thought was a kind of, like, I don't know. Like, I know they shout is epic, and I can totally understand them doing that to Imperial Guardsmen, but I found it kind of interesting doing it to a Banshee.
Yeah, honestly,
it's enjoyable. Yeah.
That part was kind of weird. I mean, like, because like the Banshee scream is all crazy, like disorientating and stuff, and I'm just like, I mean, I know like the Emperor's children can perform horrible, nasty, debilitating, brain-popping screams, but
yeah, and so yeah, no, there is a precedent for it, and they do talk a bit about the oral like Voxcaster boosting. So yeah, right. If Fulgrim's Pretty Boys can do it, then so that's.
I think, but I mean, like Ian said, they were like all crazy freako augmented and stuff. Whereas
talking the Noise Marines,
well, I mean, like Eidolon and his crazy scream, and Marius Virosi and his crazy scream. But like everyone who screams is like augmented, whereas like the Night Lords have no such silly willy augmentation.
Okay, well that's.
I know that was just one of those.
It's a one tiny thing in the whole thing that I'm really picking up on, because like everything else I just love and love and love. So they're fighting, and there's lots of Banshees, and the Raptors with Lycorphus are fighting the Swooping Hawks in the air, which is some wonderful aerial battles and stuff. And then the Voidstalker comes, and now there's lots of whispers about who Voidstalker could be. She is the Silence, and it's Jane Zar, the Banshee Phoenix Lord. That's epic. Like, the Banshee Phoenix Lord has come to kill Talos because they're worried they're going to bring about Radadundra and the end of the world. That's kind of amazing. There is an epic battle. There's some wonderful moments fighting with the First Claw, who just kind of get their asses handed to them, and essentially appear to all be dead. But that's not necessarily the case. Malkarion, the Dreadnought we mentioned before, and we'll mention a bit more in a moment, has a wonderful one with the only surviving member of the Echo of Damnation, which blew up in orbit, because the Night Lords just said, we need to get down there, screw the crew. As you would, they're just humans, you're not Space Marines. But the last slave alive and Malkarion have this wonderful moment where he mentions the Primarch, and she's like, what's a Primarch? He's like, never mind, forget about it. Because there's one point in one of the books they show, they're like, we're the 8th Legion, and they're like, there's an 8th Legion?
There's an 8th Legion? Wait a minute. I know my mythology now, but I'm confused.
Are you sure? Like, there's 8, isn't there 8 good legions? And then there were lots of chapters, I think, you find. But yeah, so there's some awesome moments, awesome fighting. It's all very sad. Septimus and Octavia are released, as we see again. The whole prophecy begins to set itself together. But not before Uzaz and Syrian have an epic brotherly battle, which is again from the vision in Soul Hunter. It wasn't upon Christ, it was upon Sulgaza, and it seems the vision was slightly wrong. And also the fight that these guys are having is because Syrian, who's been somewhat tainted by Slanesh and has a vampiric, empathic feeding on fear and need to inflict and kill lots of things to just drink up their milky, fiery goodness, not vengeance. But yeah, so, and blaming on Uzaz, who is just the berserker, essentially, and has been taking the blame. He's even given the red hands of censure, which is kind of showing that his life is forfeit until Talos finally decides to end it, which he does, saving Syrian's life, because Syrian's a lying, utter bastard, and we will talk about how much of a bastard Syrian is later. I'm pointing at Syrian, obviously, there. But yeah, so the novel ends, this epically spoilers now, ends with they're all dead, essentially. Markarian shows up, sees the just burnt husk of Talos, says, I have to do everything myself, and crushes him. Sorry, Brett, could you do that impression?
Yeah, Malkarian shows up, sees Talos's like plasma burned corpse, and sees the like twitching, like one arm crawling form of Jane Zar. Just calmly walks up to the Eldar, lifts his big dreadnought foot, slams it down, squishes the Eldar like a bug, and just goes, I have to do everything for that boy.
That was amazing. Thank you so much for that. I really enjoyed that. So then the final ends is they've been talking about the gene seed and how the gene seed doesn't really work in Talos. It's trying to evolve him more, and this is the thing that gives him the visions. And we see in the distant future that a couple of decades in the future, not that distant, that there is a new prophet, and somehow Lycorphus and Varial have survived, which is good for them. And yeah, he is now uniting all of the Night Lords together to try and keep them away from the 13th Black Crusade, although they all want to go on it. So instead they can actually just wipe out the Ulthway, because one of the problems with the good old Black Crusade is if you come from the Eye through Cadia and off you go, and you're ready to stick it to the Imperium, and you get close to Terra, then oh dear, you got the Eldar behind you. So the idea is for the Night Lords to take out all of the Eldar, and that will bring out Radadunda, apparently, because the 13th Black Crusade will succeed, and then the Imperium falls, and we can all stop playing or reading because it doesn't matter anymore. Or we'll just be reading or playing demons, just playing about all over the place, essentially. Just demons dancing on the battlements of Terra. And that kind of concludes the general kind of story and things that is Voidstalker and the series themselves. Now we're going to talk about some of the main things, because it's not about what it's about. I think that's important to say. Like,
it's not about what it's about.
Yeah, we haven't covered everything. Like, exactly everything that happens, but it's very character driven. There was a way you described it, Brett, that was wonderful the other day. And I don't know if you could recall it.
Oh shit.
Because it's just a bunch of guys, and it's about them and their philosophies and how they...
It's just a bunch of... It's really just about... It's like one big, long experiment in character development. There's really... Like, there's definitive story, but the stories themselves aren't, like, quite that fantastic. It's really more just about the journey of the characters, how they interact with each other, how they deal with what's going on, and how some get stronger, some change, and others just go all kinds of fucking nuts, like Syrian.
Exactly, yeah. But the Night Lords themselves, the first claw, kind of remind me of a British film by... Oh, I had his name earlier. Now it just keeps leaving me. The guy from Leon, and who plays Sirius Black in Harry Potter, and Commissioner Bloody Gordon. Basically, he did a film called Nib by Mouth about his life and his father, who was horrifically abusive to his mother. and the film starts with this wonderful. You're in the lounge with him and his friends, and they're having a bit of a laddie chat, but it's all fun and lovely. And you're watching over their shoulder, and you're like, "Oh, these seem like a nice bunch of chaps. They're a bit, might be a little bit rowdy, but they seem like very nice chaps." And then suddenly, bam! And it's just domestic violence and just horrible stuff. And you're like, "Oh my god, how did I ever think these people could have been nice?" And that's kind of how I feel about these guys. First Claw. This is First Claw by Slain 69, which was actually commissioned by Aaron Dembski-Bowden himself, which is kind of amazing in itself. Gary Oldman, that's the guy's name. Not a member of First Claw, but that's the guy who Kneel by Mouth was written by. And because they're just so wonderful and enigmatic and just philosophical, and you feel that Talos has got some things he wants to do, and he wants to have his life to have meaning, and he, like, there are some ideals there, and then they just start flaying everything and dashing babies against walls and just being dicks, and it's just like, no. and as rambling of Ian is just saying, Gary Oldman probably played a member of First Claw at some point. maybe he was Mercutian, because he can handle a heavy bolter, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. What Brett, is there anything you want to sort of say on the overview of them, because they are just epic?
No, for the overview, I think you've covered it.
Okay. Just a couple of things from Aaron himself on the Nostraman. He says words that sound dangerous when you whisper them is what he based them on. Vaguely Italian-sounding wordplay that is reminiscent of mafia captains threatening each other. He has a lexicon of Nostraman with certain words, but he also he knows how to pluralize and do certain phrases. But he also makes up some things himself, which is kind of epic. And he also comments on the humanness of the Night Lords. These are a bunch of questions posted on his WordPress. He's saying it was intentional, the humanness of them. Everyone has different opinions on exactly how Marines act, but for him, humanity as a concept and an expected ideal of behaviour covers a broad spectrum. The Night Lords were human children at least. They got the foundations of their psychological makeup, but their development is stunted and manipulated, and otherwise altered by nature and nurture, and they're kind of seen a bit as autistic from the outside and focused and driven by duty. And this is one of the things that I kind of want to talk about a bit, because some of the moments between humans and Night Lords are just wonderful. There's a moment where Octavia wakes up Talos from one of his dreams, and he basically throttles her, and then they just have this wonderful, "So, how's you? How was your life?" And he's like, "Well, my life wasn't good. I grew up in a shit part of Nostromo, and my mother was a whore. How are you doing?" they're just some beautiful moments. And Reuven chatting to just turns up, and this is before Octavia's found herself pregnant, and he turns up and he's like, "Oh, you two seem rather horny. Are you two gonna do something?" Basically, like, that's always wonderful, having a Night Lord sorcerer kind of being a third wheel in a situation. So yeah, do you want to go over some of the characters? We're kind of running quite a bit of time in this, but yeah. Yeah,
so I'm sure we can speed right through it.
Okay.
Yeah, you have the main character of Talos. Talos is he's very calm. He's very serious. There's some moments of comedy with him, but a big thing with him is his visions and his he continually tries to see what was good in his legion, which you can understand, because like, every legion, even the straight up direct chaos legions, had things about their legion that made them great. Whereas with the Night Lords, from the get-go, they were weapons of terror, they were murderers, they were rapists, thieves, every kind of possible scum. And so many characters say to Talos, like, "This golden age of our legion that you speak of, I don't remember it." And
because that's the thing with him. I was gonna say
he's pretty.
Sorry,
he's kind of like he's kind of pretty much an idealist, is what he effectively is. He's a Night Lord's renegade idealist.
With delusions of grandeur in many ways, I think.
Kind of, sort of.
With grandeur, the Legion doesn't have, or never really.
Yeah,
had.
and grandeur of not so much himself, but more so his Legion. Yeah.
But because the thing is, this is the thing. He is one of the early, like the young murderous people, the gangers that form the second wave of Night Lords that Kurz hates. He hated all those people, even though Soul Hunter was seen as one of the important members of his lot, and he was favoured because of what he would do in the future. But Talos is one of these ones that he'd want to have purged, so that he wasn't even there at the beginning of the Great Crusade to see this glorious time that was never really glorious anyway. So there's that. Mm-hmm. So he's the guy in the middle. So I'm trying to remember which way this villain's going to be. So to his right, I think you've got Uzaz with the chain axe and the gladius there. He's basically the berserker who beseeches the blood god for his fury, but doesn't necessarily pray to him, and only kind of comes to his senses after taking an epic blow in the head from the Banshee Phoenix Lord. And kind of, he's the one you like in the end. He's the one death you really kind of mourn. Because you're just like, I hate the Night Lords. Like, I love the Night Lords at one point, I wanted a Night Lords army, and now I hate the Night Lords again. That's how good these stories are, and how the character development and what happens is. Aaron Dembski-Bowden has done a wonderful thing here, but he's also made me hate the Night Lords desperately. So do you want to talk? Yeah, so Syrian Slanesh tainted bastard who grew up with Talos seems amicable, proved to be a lying bastard with the Psycho Van prison. He's just a bad end. Do you want to talk about any other characters quickly?
I don't know, who you want to take?
Oh, well, do you want to speak about Reuven?
Yeah, Reuven. Reuven at a point in time was part of First Claw. He defected to the Black Legion. You know, they needed a sorcerer, all that happy horse shit. Reuven has, honestly, I think the most... Well, before I get into that, Reuven, no one likes Reuven. Everyone hates Reuven. Syrian in particular hates Reuven. The Exalted and the Atramentar absolutely hate Reuven. And Syrian described Reuven as thus: he was a snide, piss-drinking whoreson at the best of times. And, but at the same time, Reuven really has the most, I feel, realistic view of the Legion out of all of them. And he has, I think, the most pure drive out of all of them, because he says, all you guys are busy running around fighting the war. I defected to the Black Legion because I want to win the war. I hate the False Emperor. My Legion sucks. The Imperium will fall by the hands of Abaddon the Despoiler. The math is not difficult to work out here. And that's pretty much Reuven. But because of how much of a, total shithead he was in the past, Talos still kills him.
And crucifies him above the bridge. Well, I'm glad you mentioned good old Abby D, because we didn't actually mention just there in Soul Hunter there is the moment that everybody in the 40k fandom and playing has been waiting for forever. Talos
takes a short moment and just goes, oh shit, it's Abaddon the Despoiler. It's like meeting the Antichrist in book form.
And the description of him is wonderful. And then, just to really make it even better, Talos even calls him on his shit, which is just a beautiful moment. It's just like it was supposed to be amazing, but you just fail all the time. Like, I don't know if you know, but people online call you Failbadon behind your back. And he's like, well, I don't care. People call Gilliman Rowboat Gurleyman behind his back. No one cares. But no, but his actual response is like, who's to say I do fail? Like, I do what needs to be done. Like, essentially, he's got the favour of all the gods. He's got the Black Legion. He's got people constantly coming to him. Like, he does what he does, and he sows chaos and destruction and awfulness throughout the Imperium just to keep them on their toes and because chaos don't you think Brett, you mentioned this the other day. Like, chaos doesn't want to win. Chaos wants to fight. There has to be fighting.
Exactly.
There has to be suffering. Like,
there has to be suffering. There has to be pain. There has to be agony. You know, Chaos wins. The Imperium of Man falls and is swept up in them. And then what happens then? Chaos burns itself out. Chaos ceases to be.
exactly.
And that is why no Black Crusade has ever reached Terra, because the Chaos Gods don't fully bless it. They don't hop on board all the way. All they want is more death, more pain, more agony, more bloodshed, more indulgence, and more misery.
Exactamundo. We are really running out of time now, so just really quickly, I just wanted to mention just Deltrian again, the Mechanicum Adept, because he's just so wonderful, deadpan, and just amazing, as I said earlier. We mentioned the Exalted of Vandred and the epicness of the demon, and then him taking control again, who's epic. Once like a little bit about Mr. Malkarian, I heard Bolt of Fire, because he's just the War Sage, Captain the 10th Company, and the Dreadnought. He went on to slay Zoram and Khan, Swordmaster, Captain of the White Scars and 9th Company, Lithandros the Templar, Paladin of the Imperial Fist Legion, and Regael the Sufferer, Captain of the Blood Angels 7th Company, in a single day at the Siege of Terra. And that is displayed beautifully upon his carapace armor, which is just wonderful. And he just wakes up to the sound of Boltfire, which is awesome. He doesn't wake up the normal way. It's very difficult to wake him up, even if you're kind of shock therapying, even though he is awake, which just seems silly. And yeah, like Orpheus the Raptor, the Bleeding Eyes, I will mention briefly, because we are going to be talking about Raptors and the Raptor Cult and Warp Talons in Lawkeepers tomorrow, which will be same time, same place, livestream.com/Dice Troop, and it will be 1 PM Eastern, which is 6 PM in the UK. And so yeah, that is our review of the Night Lords Saga. We could have done this for days. We've done this for an hour and a minute now. We could have done this for
this could have gone on much longer.
So yeah,
but as always, Dice Troop is a non-profit organization. We do all of this for fun and for the love of our constant nerdgasming. We do accept donations for the sake of the fact that many of us have to pay to host these calls and pay for this shit on live stream. But we do not in any way profit from any of this stuff. We don't own any of it. All this stuff belongs to Black Library and Games Workshop. Yeah.
And then, the first claw belongs to Slain69. Aaron Dembski-Bowden's face probably belongs to himself, and the owner of the Dreadnought picture belongs to them, although I did pay his face.
I don't know, would his parents be the ones to own his face, or would he own his face? I don't know, because they kind of made it, you know what I mean? Maybe
well, this is probably a conversation for another time, but maybe you could sue for rights to your own face. I just really quickly wanted to mention and say just desperately thank you to Miss Jedi Master, who got me this copy of Blood Reaver, because I just wanted to mention Blood Reaver in the UK. Black Library and Games Workshop is a UK company. Aaron Dembski-Bowden is based in Ireland. I don't believe the book is in publication at the moment, or at least not in the e-book bundle format. And you can find a copy of this book on eBay between £80 and £100. You can also find it on Amazon for as cheap as £80, or for a brand new one up to £800 and 12 pence. Like, what the hell is going on? It's insane. I got my copy was just bidded for me by Mr. Master on the American eBay for about $10-12, and then sent to me. It cost me less than 20 quid to get sent to me from America. So if you're like, don't get me wrong, the book's probably worth £80 to £800, but you don't do spending £80 to £800 in a book, which is insane. So yeah, there's that. Lawkeepers tomorrow, and thank you very much for watching and for being with us. Oh, we haven't given them. We should talk about the vault. So Shadow Knight, I'm giving Shadow Knight a good 4.5 out of 5. It's quality. Soul Hunter, Brett.
5 out of 5.
At least 5 out of 5. Blood Reaver, again, it's going to be another at least solid 5 out of 5. Yeah.
Definitely.
And the core is again another good 4.5 out of 5. I'm being a bit harsher on the short stories because there isn't just as much they can do as the books, to be honest. Oh, Throne of Lies, the audio drama, that is getting 8 out of 5 because it is just disgusting.
It was very well. It was the Exalted's voice. The Exalted's voice made it. Made that story.
I just like the hairs on. And I'm a hairy man. The hairs on my face and my chin and my arms, just everywhere, were standing up, and that's impressive. And finally, Stalker again, it's got to be at least 4.95 out of 5. It's quality and amazing again. The whole series is amazing, and so the whole series makes it into the vault. Yay! So represented by the Night Lords e-bundle that you can see in the bottom left there is the Night Lords. So the vault so far is Blood Angels, Red Fury, the Blood Angels book by James Swallow, the entire Path of the Eldar series by Gav Thorpe, so it's Path of the Warrior, Path of the Seer, Path of the Outcast. We've got 15 Hours, the Imperial Guard book by Mitchel Scanlon, Death World, the ridiculously fun and wonderful Catachan's book by Steve Lyons, and Waiting Death, another Catachan's epic audio drama from Steve Lyons. And next time we were going to be bringing you the Heldenhammer, the Sigmarite series for fantasy, because we're going to do a bit of that now as well. But we will be bringing you Wordbearers, the Anthony Reynolds Wordbearers series next. And I've just started that, and I have to say I am already loving it. Like, it's a very different social pace, but just dripping with chaotic detail. But we are
just dripping with evil.
I'm looking forward to this.
Like with the Night Lords, how there's really something to them. There's something admirable and good about each Night Lord. There is some small thing that is good. That is half-assed decent in them. There is not a fucking thing that is not putrid about the World Eaters.
The Wordbearers.
Wordbearers. Yeah.
Well, but
you can tell I was listening to Betrayer yesterday.
We are going to get into this debate another time, though, because I really think that there's something about the Night Lords doing what they do without worshipping the gods that makes them worse. Because if you believe in a god and do some awful things, and you know it's going to make that god that you know exists, that's spoken to, happy, that kind of makes some sort of sense, even if it's disgusting. If you're going to do stuff that makes that god a little bit horny and just help you out and just destroy the world, even though you hate them and don't want to do them, that's kind of worse. And that's who the Night Lords are. Like, you think, hey, these are. It's kind of like the nice Nazi you find in a film. Like, these must be the nice Nazis. No, they're not. They're just bastards. Although, yeah. Well, talking about nice Nazis is definitely a conversation for another time as well. Yes, I think Ramsey Savine has summed it up beautifully. They're not twisted by the gods. They're just awful, awful people. And with that, I have been Darth Sebius. As ever, this is my life partner, Britlowski. my 40k life partner, that is. We will be bringing you Lawkeepers tomorrow, hopefully with Toxic, and next month Wordbearers. So thank you very much for joining us, and we will catch you later. And tatty bye.
Peace out, homies.